The following is a production of the Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network.
Hello and welcome to this Super Sunday when we're talking about baseball. I know a lot of people are talking about football on Sunday. We are focused on Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball. My name is Dean Millard. I am head of baseball operations for UFF Sports and the commissioner of Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball. And I am joined and very happy to be joined by Max Ritz today. Max, we had you warming up in the bullpen the other night. You're on the starters bump tonight here on the desk, and not only are you going to be joining us for analysis, but you could be part of a management team. How are the nerves? You guys are on the board as IKS Media, and we'll bring up the board as we go a lot today. How are you feeling? I'm
feeling fantastic, Dean. And to actually see the name of the prospective ownership group that we've got in place here, oh man, it's just the excitement is emanating through the entire body right now. We're very happy to earn the spot start today and be alongside you as we start the wrap-up show.
I said on Friday is going to be a carnival-like atmosphere, and I think that's probably what's happening on our metaverse, Innovation Island. So hello to everybody in the UFFS community on Innovation Island, our metaverse. It's a wonderful place to be, and I think everybody's having some fun. Gerald Smiley, our Director of Recruitment, Brian Hernandez, our Director of Scouting, will be there representing UFLB. So if you have any questions for them, make sure you go up and ask. So let's lay out how things are going to go, and then we will jump into the leaderboard. This is how it will be. The auction is ongoing and has been ongoing since Friday night. We are going to go right up until the top of the hour, 6 p.m. Eastern. That is when extra innings will begin. A 2-minute countdown from 6 to 6:02. Any bid during that 2-minute time will extend all franchise bids for another 2 minutes. You will never lose a bid on a last second bid. You'll always have 2 minutes to find another comfortable spot if you did get bumped out of the auction, or stay where you are if you were outbid for that spot. So that's what will work for extra innings. 6 p.m. Eastern, we will hit that extra inning spot, and then Max, that's when I think we're going to see a whole lot of movements. You know, only $100 increments, so a lot of room for people to move up and down.
Oh, 100%.
Anyway.
I mean, the excitement, obviously, right, when you look at it from a perspective of, hey, it's a runner starting on second. But with that being said, though, too, man, oh man, the extra innings element to all of it, it just brings such a unique finishing target place for a lot of these prospective owners. And man, oh man, what a way to potentially finish things off as the leaderboard starts to see some movement.
Well, without further ado, I think it is indeed time that we take a look at that leaderboard. There's been some really interesting names jumping up, and there is the leader on the board right now. We have Jope as the number one bidder, and that's a person that came in and was the top bidder in the UFBA. So they got a taste of UFFS from basketball, and now they want a little baseball action as well. So Jope coming in from Finland with a top bid right now at $4,000. Max Elliott in there at $3,600. Wade Beavers, this is a really interesting group coming in at $3,500 right now, the number 3 spot, because I'm going to tell you a couple of names that are part of this ownership group. We have a good Manitoba boy, Corey Koski. You might have remembered him, Minnesota Twin. Also, you might know a guy that was the 2006 MVP, Justin Morneau. That is going to be a group that probably knows a thing or two about winning, as Kevin Lowe said one time. So that is amazing that you get into this league, you're competing with guys like that.
Oh, absolutely. And when you look at, again, just a couple of the names that you just bandied about, Dean, right? You look at Justin Morneau, Corey Koski. They were a part of some really, really good baseball teams in Minnesota for an extended period of time under the leadership of Ron Gardenhire. And man, oh man, that would be a pretty cool opportunity to get to compete with those guys on the digital field as well as the actual field. So.
Yeah, indeed. And you know, we see it in our UFHL. Ryan Malone, former NHLer, former Olympian. He owns the Dynasty franchise. You know, he traded for Steven Stamkos, one of his former teammates, and he has his gear and his hats and his branding and those guys. And that's the connection that guys like Corey Koski, Justin Morneau have that maybe we just don't have in our Rolodex, but it also gives them an advantage to build their brand. So let's continue on with this leaderboard as as we see it. In the 4 spot is Aaron Jones at 3,400, and we see a bit of a tie there. Five Eyes, nice group that is involved in several sports. Joseph, interesting about Joseph, he was contacted about being a GM, loved it so much, decided that they would put together an ownership group, so they're at 33. We have Valkyries, love their logo in the UFAFL, and I can't wait to see what they come up with. Circus Sports Trout, great conversation with Derek Stevens on Friday night, and I'm not sure Circus Sports Trout, speaking of betting, I would not put money on Circus Sports Trout remaining where they are. I think we'll see them move up. Who is John Galt? Obviously a literary reference there at a meeting with Michael Smith on that one today. Bison Baseball coming in at 3,100, and then there you guys are, IKS Sports. How does it feel to see you guys on the leaderboard right there?
I tell you what, especially in that spot right now, 11. I was talking with, again, our prospective owner, Paul Drouin, before the show here, and I just told him, I said, man, oh man, what a fantastic spot there that you could have a few premier players in the game to build this franchise around. So it's just very, very exciting to see the name there. And we'll see where it goes over the course of the next hour, that's for sure.
We'll see exactly where everybody slides in as we take one more look at that leaderboard. We will see the number 12 spot is Crown Sports. They also are involved in a number of our different sports. IFAB6.LB. Okay, I don't know what that stands for. I do know that that is a group from Italy that has decided to join us. So good morning, I'm guessing we're saying to them right now. Nick Utley, a friend of ours in the UFFS community joining in. Trent Roblin there at 3,000. Pineapple Express at just under that at 2,900. Noel at 2,800. We have Robert Woolman also in that spot tying, as well as June X. And then we get into the 2,700s with Jeremy Plamondon, Gary Levick, CanWest Sports. I also anticipate them jumping up a little bit. Pretty dominant hockey franchise and scouting platform. Showtime checking in. Seven Seas Blockchain Sports right there at 2,600. That's our good friend Alex Machinsky, Mooch, and he's a Yankee fan that's going to try to run his franchise better than maybe what the Yankees have done. Steve Cole in there at 2,600. Greg Tesser at also 2,600. Dale Hardy, one of our super scouts in hockey, at that range. And then you get into the 2,500 where you really have to start being strategic and paying attention. Prestige Worldwide, Baseball Baboons, Pippin in there in that 2,500 spot. And Pippin is right now the last person at 2,500. Tricky Dicky is just below Pippin at 2,500, but because the tie goes to the earlier bid, right now Tricky Dicky is on the outside. You don't want to be in that position because that's like the kid at Christmas watching everybody else get to open presents from outside the window.
100%. And like you said, Dean, there's just going to be hopefully so much movement over the course of the next hour. It's one of those things where, like you said, you don't want to be left on Christmas morning with that lump of coal, especially getting involved with something as unique as this opportunity. So Tricky Dicky, you're listening. You might want to be doing some bidding over the next hour or so.
Very exciting stuff as we continue this franchise auction for Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball. And Ian Kinsler is going to join us on the show. He is our ambassador. He's our first digital athlete NFT. He's a member of the Padres front office and a guy that I've really enjoyed chatting with. I know he had a big weekend, so he's going to join us on the show in just a little bit later. And it'll be interesting to find out from him kind of what statistical categories are important to him. But, as a fantasy guy, when you're approaching this and you're looking at our scoring system, I don't want you to give any strategy, but any categories that you think are much more important than others?
Well, and we talked about a little bit off air, Dean, right? There's just going to be so many nuances to this, right? It's any given week, especially preparing up for the draft in early March. Again, it could be quality starts from a pitcher that really jumps out at you. We talked about WAR. We talked about WHIP. We talked about all these little nuances in this beautiful game of baseball that it could all just mean so much when it comes to the season-ending total and having a chance to win a championship. But I tell you what, you're going to want a big bopper in your lineup. You're going to want a pitcher that has an opportunity to go 6 strong any given night, and you're going to need a lot of those pieces, as again, it's as authentic as it gets, people. 26-man roster. So again, you're going to have to find ways all across the board to fill out your squads in order to have a chance at a championship.
Indeed. So we'll be referring to this leaderboard all throughout this show. Again, the auction will end at 6 p.m., which kicks into extra innings. So at 6 p.m., extra innings will begin. 2 minutes to get in a bid. If there are 0 bids in 2 minutes, the auction will end. But every bid during that extra innings period will reset the clock to 2 minutes. So the auction will end when there is 2 minutes of radio silence, 0 bids. And I'm thinking there's people that are just kind of waiting in the weeds right now, waiting for we get closer to that 2-minute warning, and then they're going to start doing some bidding, as we often see in pretty much every auction.
Oh, 100%. When it's whether it's memorabilia, fantasy sports franchises, whatever it is, there's strategy all throughout the game. Whether if it's the initial auction or, again, when it comes down to draft time, there's always those strategies and nuances that people really want to employ when it comes to setting up their ownership group at any sort of level of this involvement. So,
well, and especially in this. So let's talk a little bit about. We saw some of the top 5 people on the leaderboard. Let's talk about where that cutoff is when it comes to your initial player draft. So it's a 26-round player draft. We know, we talk about our top 30 lists, but let's talk about that top 5, top 6. Where do you think the cutoff is where, if I threw 6 players in the hat and you pick, and we all 6 of us picked a name, you're going to be pretty happy with that player.
Absolutely.
Where's that cutoff where you maybe say, okay, now I'm going to look at position instead of just taking one of these guys and then building around them? Is it 5? Is it 6? Is it 7 deep? What do you think it is?
You know what, honestly, Dean, I look at it from a perspective of we got 30 Major League franchises in the actual world of Major League Baseball, and there's some talented pieces across every single one of those organizations. I'd say you could probably go about 10 deep, and then all of a sudden it goes off the leaderboard, right? It's what do you decide? How do you want to build that squad if you can't quite get the player that you want? How high are certain guys on your board? How far are you willing to slip? I would say that probably that top 10 spot would be the money spot, but with that being said, it's all dependent on how different ownership groups view different guys in certain spots. We talked about right fielders being a potential avenue of very, very deep success. Again, how many go off the board before we look and see a second baseman or a pitcher, right? Well,
you put together a depth chart for us the other night, so maybe we can take a look at that depth chart that Max has put together, and we can talk about some of the guys on this list that you would put in that top 5. And you did, this isn't the best players in baseball. These are the guys you're looking at each position. When you look at that list, how many of those guys would you be putting in that upper echelon that you're like, okay, I'm okay with just taking this best player and then I'll worry about position guys later?
Absolutely. I'd say probably 6 to 7 of them based on what I've got here. And again, this was just obviously a very preliminary evaluation. But with that being said, I'd be happy with any number of one of these guys to kick off a franchise of this nature. But we talked about it. Shohei Ohtani, got to be the guy, right? He's valuable on the bump. He's valuable at the bat. And then you go a little bit further down the list. Salvador Perez, maybe people are concerned about his age, but he's got that dual usage as a DH and then also behind the dish as well. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., we talked about him a lot on Friday night, so we don't need to spend too much time on him. However, again, a premier piece that you'd be happy to build an organization around at the one bag. And then you look at Fernando Tatis Jr., Jose Ramirez, any one of those outfielders I would be incredibly happy with, especially with the trajectory that Tyler O'Neill is on. But again, we talked about him. Mike Trout, again, how much do you value Mike Trout at this stage of his career? And how important is he not just for this UFLB, but the Legends League as well, too, that dual usage and dual importance for a guy with as illustrious of a career as Mike Trout has had. So
we saw in UFAFL and UFBA that guys like Tom Brady and guys like LeBron James went very high for that Legends League value. To me, Mike Trout definitely has that. We know he's a Hall of Famer even if they don't win a World Series. But Mike Trout, to me, is still closer to his prime than those other two guys. And listen, we know what Brady and LeBron can still do. So for me, Mike Trout is that guy that has that Legends League cachet. And if he can stay healthy, and we know being the best all-around player takes its toll, but you're still getting some prime years out of Mike Trout before he gets to the Legends League, unless he pulls a Barry Sanders on us.
Exactly. And again, we talk about him, right? 3-time MVP. You know that when this guy's healthy for, again, that 150, 160 game stretch, he's going to be at the top of the leaderboards. Again, next to his teammate Shohei Ohtani, he might be still the best player in the world next to Shohei, and that might be the argument between the two of them. That'd be a very fun dynamic to see how that goes in the clubhouse, especially from a fantasy perspective. But as you alluded to, Dean, Mike Trout, value across the board in not only this league, but future leagues to follow as well.
The Legends League will have certainly some appeal for a lot of people. Okay, let's slide back to that leaderboard. And what I wanted to kind of focus on is, so we have our top 5, top 6 that we're looking at, and there'll be some shuffling. If we're going at, say, let's use 10 as an even number. I mean, you have an opportunity to get into the top 10 for right now for $3,500 if you wanted to get into the number 3 spot. I mean, this is the deal of the century here. Like, to quote the guy in RoboCop, I'd buy that for $1, but $3,500. I mean, there is so much value to these franchises and these draft spots right now. And you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. So I just want to throw some numbers at you of why you might want to be in that number 1 spot where Jope currently is at $4,000 US. Here's what Shohei Ohtani did based on our scoring system last year. So first of all, Vlad Guerrero was the top batter with 697 points according to our scoring system last year. Shohei Ohtani, number 2 at 673. That's just batting. You tack on 362.33 pitching points, and that puts Shohei Ohtani a 1,000-point player. 1,035.33, a difference of 338.33 points. That is why you want to be number 1 on the leaderboard if Shohei Ohtani is your target. I said it the other night, it's like McDavid getting goalie points. It's like Pat Mahomes playing defense every 5 games. It is game-changing as long as Shohei Ohtani produces. It's not every year the starting pitcher in the All-Star game is going to hit 40 home runs. Right. How long do you think Shohei Ohtani can do this? And that's I think the question you're asking yourself if you want that number 1 spot. How much do I pay? How much is left? You're still going to get value as a batter, but how long does he do this, do you think, for an Angels and be the most important fantasy player out there?
And it's very rare that we see these generational players again in the real world as well as the fantasy world, right? You used to split up Gretzky goals and assists. It was just absolutely incredible. And when you look at the opportunity in a league like this, the way that it's structured for Shohei Ohtani, it's interesting to see the way that his career has developed. He has developed a couple of injuries where, again, the pitching side of things, he maybe hasn't been able to finish off the year as strong as he's wanted to. But with that being said, the way that you broke down the point system, Dean, he could only pitch until July and still be 100 to 200 points better. I see he could probably keep that up for at least 3 to 5 more seasons. He's only 27 years old, so it could be very, very interesting to see how he continues to develop and evolve as a fantasy player. But again, it's all about, can he stay healthy on both sides of the ball?
And that is why you want to be in that number 1 spot. If you think Ohtani is number 1, you got to be there. If you think there's somebody else in that top 5, you want to be in the top 5. That's the strategy of this, and we'll continue to talk about this as we go. When we return, though, 2018 World Series champion, 2-time member of the 30-30 Club for homers and steals, and a 4-time All-Star. Also, he's got a pretty cool bat company right now with some pretty cool people as well. Ian Kinsler, our first digital athlete NFT with UFF Sports, will join us to talk about UFLB, NFTs, and more. This is the Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball Franchise Auction Live Wrap-Up Special, coming to you live from Regina, Saskatchewan, and the IKS studios. We'll be back right after this.
Well, you've all been waiting and asking, and it's finally here. The UFF Sports NFT platform is ready. It's coming this month, folks, okay? UltimateSportsNFTs.com. UltimateSportsNFTs.com. Get that, save that address, because it's coming. That means all the NFL legends we have on board, hockey, baseball, every sport is coming to one spot. So you don't have to worry about wondering, where do I find this NFT of this player? The stars are coming to UltimateSportsNFT.com. And just like the late, great Macho Man, Randy Savage once said, the cream always rises to the top, brother. Yeah, always rises to the top. You see, because there's no 40,000 three-pointers and slam dunks, brother. No. There's one of ones of Chris Carter, Eric Metcalf, Michael Vick, Nate Burleson, Tristan Jackson, Justice Hill, Ryan Malone, Ian Kinsler, champions, professionals, all coming, and many more, by the way, as well, all coming to UltimateSportsNFTs.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I joined my friend Dee Millard on the Tracking the Draft podcast. We have a lot of fun talking about the upcoming prospects, who your team should select. So you know all about fantasy. Well, guess what? UFF Sports is revolutionizing the World Juniors with their UFWJ Dynasty League and scouting platform. We all know how exciting the World Juniors are. Well, this is going to give you a whole new level of excitement. This is the future of fantasy hockey. Franchise auction is November 20th and 21st. There's only 10 franchises available. Only 10 teams participate in the World Junior. Minimum bid, $500 US. Make sure to follow at the UFWJ on Twitter for even more exciting World Junior action.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. IKS Live, the proud producer of The Rod Peterson Show and The Recovery Hour. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Welcome back. Just over 40 minutes left in the Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball franchise auction live special that we are doing. Well, the auction ends in just over 40 minutes, and then extra innings will kick in. We'll be here a little bit later than that, and the excitement is building. We now have 32 bids, so that means two franchises are on the outside looking in, and we'll have to scramble to get back in. By the way, the folks in Italy are 6 hours ahead of us. I think Jope in Finland's about 8 hours, so good evening to those in Finland and Italy. And it's very exciting to be able to welcome in our next guest. He is a member of the 2018 World Series champion Boston Red Sox. He is also a member of the 30-30 Club twice, and he's our digital athlete NFT, Ian Kinsler. Ian, it is great to chat with you again. Before we get to the fantasy stuff, which I know you love and you're excited about, you had an amazing weekend, man. Tell us about Warstick, who's involved, and what you guys did this weekend.
Man, it was a crazy weekend. We had our grand opening of our headquarters finally. It's been probably 3 years since we purchased the building and trying to put together the plans. And we opened the building in Dallas and Deep Elm of Dallas. And it was just a crazy weekend. We had a bunch of people down at the store, a bunch of people excited about it being opened. We had a line around the building, which was super cool to see. And then Jack White is also the other investor in the company, and he played a little number for us down in the speakeasy. We call it the Woodman's Lounge downstairs. We got a whole photo up that he put together with JBL, and it just sounds amazing down there. So it was just a crazy week. We had a little Sandlot game. We did it all, man. It's been a heck of a weekend so far.
That's awesome. Sign me up for the next event that you guys have. And I got to tell you, we got some pretty cool awards that we're giving out. The Warstick Silver Slugger Award has a nice ring to it, so we might have to get some Warstick UFLB bats going, because I know you guys have some quality stuff there. Or maybe the Branch Rickey Warstick Award for the regular season champions has a nice ring to it as well. But Ian, you and I have been talking about this Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball, and one of the things that I really appreciate when in our conversations is that you've seen World Series rosters put together. You were part of a successful one. You went to 2 with the Rangers, and now you're in the Padres organization. When you look at UFLB and your experience about putting rosters together and being a part of a front office, tell me a little bit about the realism that you see.
Well, I mean, there's really no other way to put it than that it's just as real as it gets. Anything that you can find on the internet anywhere, if you want to be part of sports, if you want to participate in some sort of fantasy league, this is as close as you can get to the real thing. And, actually operating a team as a general manager, you could hire an assistant general manager if you want. You hire scouts, you hire all these people, or you could just do it yourself if you really have the time and the energy. And you don't trust anybody else, you could do it yourself. But it's as real as it gets, and that's what kind of excites me about it is, the first time we talked and listening to you talk about the rules of baseball and how many different rules there really are, and I don't think people quite understand or have a complete grasp on how many rules there are off the field in baseball, and trying to roster construct and figure out how to put together a World Series team. Because, I just got done with interviewing Bob Melvin in San Diego. I work for the Padres now, and I got done interviewing him, and he said it's not a 26-man roster. It's not a 27-man roster. It's like a 50-man roster. Like every team goes through, 40 to 50 players every year. So roster is super important, and you don't find that in any fantasy leagues. Like you don't find it get that in depth. Except for here, so it's super unique, and I think that people are really gonna really love it.
So Ian, as Dean alluded to, being part of the Padres front office, maybe what are a couple of tips and tricks being again in that front office that you could pass along to some prospective UFLB franchise owners?
Don't burn any bridges, man. You gotta be able to communicate with everybody. Other than that, like pitching is king, no doubt. You got bullpen, you got to have good pitching, because that's pretty much as far as you'll go in this game. Man, I don't know. I think those two are probably top of the list. I would definitely say probably your employees are super important, or the people that you have helping you with this, I think, are super important in communication. So don't burn any bridges, man.
Well, that's so important because whether you're talking about dealing with another GM in trades, because you never know what will happen. And you brought it up. Good people treat people properly in your organization. They're going to work a lot harder for you, I think. And that's such an integral point about that. Ian, what are some, as a baseball player, what statistics were important to you besides wins and World Series champions? I think being a member of that 30-30 club is one of the coolest things out there. But as a baseball player, what stats were important to you? And, we have a pretty elaborate scoring system as well, but what ones were the ones for you?
That's a good question, because when I played, that's a super easy answer for me. I was a leadoff hitter for a lot of my career, and really the most important stats for me were runs scored and RBIs. Like, you add those two numbers together. So Buck Showalter was my first manager, and he told me, if you add RBIs and runs together and then subtract home runs, you have the value of your player. And anybody that gets close to 200 runs produced is a super valuable player. If you take away the home runs, right? It's just because the home run, you get credited for an RBI and a run. So you have to subtract that number, and then it's pretty simple. If you get close to 200 runs produced, you're one of the best players in the league. So that was something that I just always tried to do when I was playing.
So excuse me while I take some notes here, Ian. As a prospective AGM myself in this game, no, that's an incredible way to put it, an incredible tip anyways, again, for some prospective owners. But obviously you did have quite the career yourself, Ian. And I mean, when it comes to fantasy sports, did you ever have any buddies or family that were owners of fantasy teams that, again, maybe not like this one, but that maybe took you in some drafts? And how high were you going in those drafts if you were privy to that information?
Yeah, there was a couple of years there where I had some friends take me in the first round and let me know about it. Put a little extra pressure on me, I guess. But you always hear, when you're a player, you always hear, a fan or something tell you, a family member or whatever, say, hey, you were on my fantasy team, you helped me out and you had a great year and all of those things. And it's cool to hear. It's just anytime that fans are involved in any shape or form, it's always good for the game, and it always makes it more exciting. But growing up, I played fantasy baseball one time in my life, and I was in junior college at that time. That the school wasn't that tough, so I had a little extra time. And baseball's it's a difficult thing because it's every single day. You really got to stay on top of it. If you're doing football, it's a game a week, and you set your lineup and just kind of chill out and whatever, right? Baseball does take more involvement, which I think people really like that and can kind of dive into it. But that's kind of my experience with either getting drafted or just participating in fantasy baseball.
Well, we love that we have player involvement. You as our ambassador and digital athlete NFT. We also have some former players getting involved in management. I'll let you know. Corey Koski putting together a management group that also includes a guy who won the 06 MVP and Justin Morneau. So I think it's kind of interesting that some of the players are getting involved. But you kind of brought up a good point. If there's a player out there that wants to look into something after his career is over, this is kind of a good start to get your feet wet and learn about all the things you're going to know. I mean, you could learn a lot of stuff from our rule book in this league if you were looking to get into baseball management after a career.
I agree with you 100%. And like I've alluded to before, is the first conversation we had. It was just so interesting that the rules are followed pretty much. As close as you possibly can get to real life rules and what general managers and organizations deal with. This is it. So that was intriguing to me because, like I said, I'm working in the front office for the Padres. So I don't necessarily know all the rules. As a player, you don't really concentrate on that side of the game. You don't think about, maneuvering DFAs and making trades and those types of things. Yeah, you can think, I want the best players. I think our general manager should go trade for the best players because that makes our team better. But you're not really aware of what actually is going on and all the conversations behind the scenes. So it definitely can be a learning tool for a player, an ex-player that wants to get a little bit more involved. Maybe just something that's a little bit more fun that allows you to learn those rules and the dealings of everyday Major League Baseball.
So, Ian, as we, again, get into the nuances and the different elements that make this league truly unlike any other, another facet of it is the potential Legends League matchups that we're looking at. Now, when it comes to yourself, who would be somebody that you would want to face in an all-time Legends League matchup?
Man, I don't know. You guys have asked me this question before, and I've said Nolan Ryan. I think it would be super to face Nolan Ryan. But no, he's somebody that I know. Obviously, I played for the Rangers for all those years, and he was the president and part of the ownership group. And Nolan's an incredible guy, and I have 3 or 4 autographs from him in my house, and 2 for my son himself, and it's somebody that I highly respect, and probably Nolan Ryan. But you go through just the history of the game, and you got like Sandy Koufax sitting right there, and that would be just an incredible experience. So I could go on and on with just different guys. I mean, Dave to me was one of my favorite players when I was growing up. For some reason, I have no idea why, but he always just grabbed my attention. And I didn't, the Oakland A's weren't really on national television like the Braves were in the 90s, the TBS and stuff like that. But for some reason, when Dave Stewart pitched, I watched.
Yeah, that is so intimidating. And he went to the Blue Jays and helped them obviously have success. I'll give you just a little piece of advice. If you get into the batter's box against Nolan Ryan in the Legends League, don't charge the mound. Did not work out well when Robin Ventura tried that. But it is when you look at all those intriguing matchups, like I would love to see Sandy Koufax pitch against Barry Bonds or something like that. And just kind of those ultimate matchups, or even go back in time and pick any matchup that you want. I think it really does have that cool value to kind of see yourself playing again, even after retirement, Ian.
Yeah, it's super interesting just to have the crossover, because the question in baseball is always like, what was Mickey Mantle better than Mike Trout? Or just whatever those conversations are always being had. Is Shohei Ohtani better than Babe Ruth? It's just like to be able to see those matchups occur is pretty cool.
I agree. It's so awesome.
Completely. And I guess, Ian, another one I've got for you. Now, outside of the obvious, everybody wants to be number one, especially, again, in a league in this type of inception format. But for yourself, especially in the landscape of the game today and with how much talent is across all 30 major league teams, where would you want to see yourself maybe slot in terms of if you were an owner of this particular league getting into the UFLB?
Man, I don't know. If you take second base as a position, there's been some incredible second basemen. You got Joe Morgan and Roberto Alomar are the first to come to my mind, and it's like I'm not going ahead of those two guys. So I don't know exactly where that would be. You know, my generation, there were a lot of really good second basemen, and I could go on and on. But you got Dustin Pedroia and Robinson Cano are really the first two that come to mind. You know, Howie Kendrick was a second baseman for a really long time, really good player. Man, I don't know. I could probably sit here and think of a bunch of others, but I don't know where I'd slot in there. You got all the other positions and drafting a team and, you know, organizing a team. I mean, if I make the top 20 rounds, I'm pretty happy with that.
Well, don't sell yourself short, man. You were one of the best of your generation, and it's not easy to get into the 30-30 club. It's not easy to go 6 for 6 in a game, hit for the cycle, and it's not easy to hit your last home run from the pitcher position. All of those things you did, and we really appreciate your time today and being involved with us with UFFS. So, Ian, thank you so much. Congratulations on Warstick and a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, and we'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. Good luck with all this.
Thank you very much.
It's really cool.
Awesome. Ian Kinsler, 2018 World Series champion, knows how rosters are put together. And like he said, you know, you can learn a little bit about this if you're a former player. And maybe that's why we have some former players involved. All right. We are getting down to the nitty gritty. 25 minutes left until extra innings will begin. We will dive into the leaderboard, run up to extra innings and more as we continue on the Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball Franchise Auction live special coming to you from Regina, Saskatchewan in the studios of IKS Media.
Well, you've all been waiting and asking, and it's finally here. The UFF Sports NFT platform is ready. It's coming this month, folks, okay? Ultimate Sports NFTs.com. UltimateSportsNFTs.com. Get that, save that address because it's coming. That means all the NFL legends we have on board, hockey, baseball, every sport is coming to one spot. So you don't have to worry about wondering, where do I find this NFT of this player? The stars are coming to UltimateSportsNFT.com. And just like the late, great Macho Man, Randy Savage once said, the cream always rises to the top, brother. Yeah, always rises to the top. You see, because there's no 40,000 three-pointers or slam dunks, brother. No. There's one of ones of Chris Carter, Eric Metcalf, Michael Vick, Nate Burleson, Tristan Jackson, Justice Hill, Ryan Malone, Ian Kinsler, champions, professionals, all coming, and many more, by the way, as well, all coming to UltimateSportsNFTs.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I joined my friend Dean Millard on the Tracking the Draft podcast. We have a lot of fun talking about the upcoming prospects, who your team should select. So you know all about fantasy. Well, guess what? UFF Sports is revolutionizing the World Juniors with their UFWJ Dynasty League and scouting platform. We all know how exciting the World Juniors are. Well, this is going to give you a whole new level of excitement. This is the future of fantasy hockey. Franchise auction is November 20th and 21st. There's only 10 franchises available. Only 10 teams participate in the World Junior. Minimum bid, $500 US. Make sure to follow at the UFWJ on Twitter for even more exciting World Junior action.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. IKS Live, the proud producer of The Rod Peterson Show and The Recovery Hour. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Hello there, and welcome back to this special Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball Franchise Auction Live Wrap-Up Special. My name is Dean Millard, Head of Baseball Operations for UFFS and Commissioner of Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball, joined by Max Ritz of the Squadcast, and a guy who, if you guys are lucky enough to get a franchise, could be part of the management group. And let's get right to that leaderboard right now, because there has been some movement, and we are 21 and a half minutes away from extra innings. Still nobody overtaking Jope, who maybe because he's 8 hours ahead of us. He knows the future. But Jope in Finland has the top bid right now, and we talked about it. If you have a guy, Ohtani, Tatis, Acuna, that you want at number one, that's the spot you're going to have to overtake. And look at the leaderboard now. IFAB6.LB, 6 hours ahead, as we were corrected on. 3,800. They jump into the number 2 spot just like that. Bison Baseball has made a move since we last checked in at 37. Max Elliott coming in at 36. And then a couple in, Wade Beavers. That is the group with Corey Koski and Justin Morneau. Who is John Galt in at 3,500. And then you get quite a log jam in the 34, 33, 3,200 as you move down. Five Eyes, Aaron Jones, Joseph, the Valkyries in at 32. We see you guys there, IKS Sports, falling into the number 13 spot. And, you know, that's a top 15 pick. You'd be happy with that, I'm sure.
Absolutely, 100%.
Pineapple Express on the 3,100 with you as well. There we have Nick Utley, Trent Roblin at 3,000. Also Pippin. Noel D in at 2,800. Robert Woolman joining Noel, as well as June X, Dale Hardy. Greg Tesser in there at 2,800. Jeremy Plamondon leading the pack at 2,700. Gary Levesque, Ken West Fantasy Sports. Showtime, Dan Esposito in that spot as well. Seven Seas Blockchain at 26. Steve Cole and Prestige Worldwide. The final bidder right now on the board at 2,500. You see Baseball Baboons and Tricky Dicky bumped out. And we said, that's not a spot you want to be in, whether it's Christmas or the UFLB franchise auction. You don't want to be on the outside looking in. So you got to bid up to get back in.
And you got 20 minutes to do it. Sorry, 19 minutes and 26 seconds to be exact there, Dean. So it's going to be interesting as this gets a little bit closer, as it inches towards extra innings, much like the bottom of the ninth in a baseball game. That's kind of where we're at right now. Get your bids in, because like Dean said, you're not going to want to be left out of this come March at the draft when the veteran draft happens. So.
All right, so we have been doing some top 30 lists within the UFLB team, and I think it's only fitting. We had Ian Kinsler on. The connection to Ian Kinsler is Matt Soren, our director of competition. They played on Team Israel together for the this past Olympics, and Matt submitted a very cool top 30 list as well. So let's take a look at Matt Soren's top 30 list as we see Shohei Ohtani. And Matt and I, worked on the scoring system. He came up with a lot of the really good ideas, and it was obvious when we were doing it that Ohtani was going to be so valuable. As I mentioned before, he was 1,000-point player last year when you factor in pitching and hitting. And we're not like the other fantasy leagues where you pick one. You get them both. We're like Major League Baseball. So the Anaheim Angels don't get Ohtani's hitting and the LA Dodgers get his pitching. You would get him. And that's why myself and Matt has him at number one. But what do you like about this list and what stands out and jumps out for you?
Well, to be honest, a little bit of bias with having some potential skin in the game, Dean. I mean, I look at this list and you look at the number of just ultra talented baseball players on it. I'm certainly looking in that top 10 range and I'm saying, oh, I would really like some of those guys. So maybe if they slip a Bo Bichette, a Trey Turner, Turner, Ronald Acuna Jr., my goodness, it's how guys value how ownership groups value certain guys. But when I look at this list, I look at number 13, where the IKS Media Group is currently slotted at Jake DeGrom, again, for reasons additional on top of the UFLB, the Legends League, as we discussed on Friday. Again, a guy that I would be extremely happy to have with the, again, value on quality starts. It's, again, can a guy like that stay healthy? And much to be said for most of these guys, but what a list. And again, it's just going to be so exciting come draft day as we see some of these ownership groups take real ownership of these players.
Yeah, and so when you take a look at that list and then we take a look at the leaderboard, we can start saying, according to this list at least, and everybody has their own list, this is where guys would slot in. So when we look at that leaderboard, and I'm thinking back at that list, Trey Turner, number 8, Bo Bichette, number 9. So when we scroll down to the number 8 and 9 spots, you're getting a guy like Trey Turner, Bo Bichette for around $3,400 right now. If that was where you wanted to slot those guys in, I mean, that seems almost criminal how good of a player you could get for that amount when we look at. And you know what? We will, I think, going to see some movement. We've got just over 16 minutes left before extra innings. But when you're looking at that, that's how you have to value it. And everybody has their own list. So right now, as you're bidding on the auction, and I'm speaking to all the 32 current bidders, you have to think, okay, the first round, obviously a very important, the most important round. You're going to find some studs later on, but that first round, you can't swing and miss. You have to have that player in mind, even right now, and then think, where is that player going to be? And I got to get there. Or maybe you're like, I just want a team, and I'll be the smart guy that drafts at the back and wins. There's so many different things. But if you have a player in mind, you need to be specific on where you got to be. And boom, let's go to the leaderboard right now. We have a new leader, and Wade Beavers stepping up to the plate with a bid of $4,100. And you know what? That's just smart former player strategy.
Absolutely.
Corey Koski, Justin Morneau, Wade Beavers saying, we're going to go after Shohei Ohtani possibly, or whoever it might be, but identifying a player, a spot, and getting after it. 15 minutes and counting to see how much more shuffling there will be.
Oh, 100%. And again, when you look at, we talk about draft picks in the actual world as capital. This is exactly where you're at. US dollars as the currency. Make sure that you guys get in on this. This is absolutely crazy to see some of the movement that's happening later on in the draft here, and in the leaderboard here. And I can only imagine that we're going to see a little bit more as the final seconds tick down.
Yeah, we still have some time before extra innings kick in. And I want to remind you that at the top of the hour, 6 p.m. Eastern, is when extra innings will start. A 2-minute extension will be added on. Any bid during that 2-minute extension extends all 30 bids, all 30 franchises in the auction, and then the auction will finish when there is 2 full minutes of 0 bids. You will always have time to find an extra spot or to get back into the auction if you unfortunately did fall out. So that is what is, I think, going to be the most exciting thing as we are under 15 minutes until extra innings. And you don't want to leave it. And one thing I will also advise everybody is make sure you're using Chrome or Firefox as a browser. Do not let losing a franchise the chance to lose a franchise to the bad internet or a bad connection. So please, if you're bidding in this auction, get on Chrome, get on Firefox. Don't wait till the last second, because sometimes that burns you. Can you imagine losing out on a franchise because you waited that extra second and your internet glitched?
I wouldn't sleep till March, Dean. I really wouldn't, to be honest. And again, it's just so exciting
till
to see.
March 31st, when the first day of the season. Yes,
100%. But especially as that opening weekend goes, when the draft happens, you're not going to want to be sitting, because again, you're invested now. This programming this weekend has been absolutely fantastic to showcase exactly what this league's going to be about. And man, oh man, I am just looking. If I had the click button from Adam Sandler, I could fast forward to March, especially if we're lucky enough to be in the ownership group of this league. That's exactly what I do. It's looking fantastic. And again, still a little bit of time. You guys can get in on this. Make sure you do so.
Yes, by the way, if you would still like to get in on the auction, info UFLB at uffsports.com. There's still 13 minutes. Our team is very fast, and we could get in another ownership group if they were interested, but right now we do have 32 bidders. We do have actually more confirmed and registered bidders, so that's kind of an interesting tactic. There might be people that are not on our leaderboard yet, but have registered bidders, have been in the auction, just haven't made a bid yet. Those people lurking in the weeds as that strategy, that could be an interesting one. And who knows, somebody could come over the top.
Oh, 100%. And again, we talked about it, right? Whether if it's memorabilia on eBay or, again, a chance at a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity like this, whatever strategy you employ, as long as you have a strategy to get in on the bidding, that's what matters most. So, again, make sure you do so because, again, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. All right, so our director of recruitment is Gerald Smiley. He also put in a list, and he's a former draft pick of the Texas Rangers. Matt Soren, a former draft pick of the Philadelphia Phillies. So it's awesome to have former players involved in putting this team. And Brian Hernandez is our director of scouting. Just an absolute smash-up team that we have. But let's take a look at Gerald Smiley's list when it comes to the top 30. And this is an interesting choice to go with Carlos Correa ahead of Trout and Ohtani. But I would have a hard time coming up with a really great argument against Carlos Correa, especially with some of the other value things that he brings that will be Legends League value in time.
And the unrestricted free agency component of Carlos Correa too, right? We talk about the salary cap and how much that's going to mean. What is his ticket going to be in the offseason here for, again, returning to the Houston Astros or likely headed elsewhere possibly? So when you look at the names on this list, and again, when it comes to Gerald's baseball knowledge, again, being a former draft pick of the Texas Rangers, you know he knows a thing or two about baseball, and you see the names on this list. It's, again, if you have ownership of any one of these guys, they have the potential to be an anchor for your franchise as you get going. So it's, again, top to bottom, 1 to 30, as they say. It's looking fantastic. But yeah, Carlos Correa, very interesting name. A guy that we know very, very capable of producing very, very big numbers at the dish. And again, on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see where he lands in both the UFLB as well as Major League Baseball when it comes to his free agency.
Yeah, an offer made by the Astros. By the way, the Dodgers made a qualifying offer to Corey Seager, which, you know, if you're looking at a guy like Trey Turner, you want to know where that guy is before our 26. And, you know, our draft isn't until March 5th and 6th. So most guys are hopefully signed, sealed, and delivered. There'll be the odd guy, the straggler. But, you know, if you're looking at Trey Turner and you're thinking, okay, is he going to be more comfortable at shortstop somewhere else, or is he going to stay in L.A. and play second base? But, okay, we have just over 10 minutes to go. Can we flash that leaderboard one more time as we go to break and find out if there is any changes? Wade Beavers still at the top, Jope right behind, and then you see as we scroll down the leaderboard, we have 32 bidders. So that means there are two franchises, potential franchises, that are on the outside looking in right now. And then when you get down here, look at that, Steve Cole, Prestige Worldwide. Those franchises have to be careful. This is when you're going to be really paying attention, and we'll hopefully see some movement. We have under 10 minutes to go. We will be right back on this Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball Franchise Auction live wrap-up special from the studios of IKS in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Well, you've all been waiting and asking, and it's finally here. The UFF Sports NFT platform is ready. It's coming this month, folks, okay? UltimateSportsNFTs.com. UltimateSportsNFTs.com. Get that, save that address because it's coming. That means all the NFL legends we have on board, hockey, baseball, every sport is coming to one spot. So you don't have to worry about wondering, where do I find this NFT of this player? The stars are coming to UltimateSportsNFT.com. And just like the late, great Macho Man, Randy Savage once said, the cream always rises to the top, brother. Yeah, always rises to the top. You see, because there's no 40,000 three-pointers or slam dunks, brother. No. There's one of ones of Chris Carter, Eric Metcalf, Michael Vick, Nate Burleson, Tristan Jackson, Justice Hill, Ryan Malone, Ian Kinsler, champions, professionals, all coming, and many more, by the way, as well, all coming to UltimateSportsNFTs.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I joined my friend Dean Millard on the Tracking the Draft podcast. We have a lot of fun talking about the upcoming prospects, who your team should select. So you know all about fantasy. Well, guess what? UFF Sports is revolutionizing the World Juniors with their UFWJ Dynasty League and scouting platform. We all know how exciting the World Juniors are. Well, this is going to give you a whole new level of excitement. This is the future of fantasy hockey. Franchise auction is November 20th and 21st. There's only 10 franchises available. Only 10 teams participate in the World Junior. Minimum bid, $500 US. Make sure to follow at the UFWJ on Twitter for even more exciting World Junior action.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. IKS Live, the proud producer of The Rod Peterson Show and The Recovery Hour. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Welcome back to our Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball Franchise Auction Live Wrap-Up Special. I'm Dean Millard, Head of Baseball Operations for UFFS and Commissioner of Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball, joined by Max Ritz of the Squadcast and a guy who is really hoping you're moving up or staying on the leaderboard for the ownership group that you'll be helping to run a franchise for the ownership group. So, you know what it's like right now? It's like Oprah is giving out top of the leaderboard. You're on the leaderboard. You're on the leaderboard. You're on the leaderboard, because we have had several changes since we went to commercial break. So let's dive right into that leaderboard right now. And new leader, 7C's Blockchain Sports. Mooch coming in with a $4,300 bid. We are just over 5 minutes away from the start of extra innings. You want Shohei Ohtani, you want Tatis at number one, whatever insert player, you got to outbid Mooch at 4,300. Can you do it? We'll see. Philip Beavis, 4,200. He was the new leader just when we were in commercial break, entered, and one of those people that entered the auction late and then coming in strong. Wade Beavers, we've talked about the Major League Baseball connections, Corey Koski, Justin Morneau in that group at 4,100. Jope was the leader for the long time, and hopefully he hasn't gone to bed. He's over in Finland, so hopefully he's staying awake at 4,000. How about Steve Cole? Scooting right up the leaderboard at $3,900. That was a person that was almost getting edged out, and then they recognized it and jumping back in. So we are 4 minutes and 37 seconds as the countdown continues away from extra innings. GTES, IFAB, 6.LB. We see Baseball Bisons who made a move earlier. And it's, guys, just keep scrolling that leaderboard. That's perfect. As we see all the numbers here, IKS Sports, 3,500. So you guys have moved up and trying to maintain that spot. Is there a if you were to be, if they said, Max, where's the cutoff? Is it 12, 13, 15, 10? Like, what do you need to be in?
I tell you what, though, again, fantastic to see our owner, Paul, just being active in these last 5 minutes here. I'm being pretty happy sitting at 12, to be honest. There's some guys that you look that maybe they slide out of the top 10 as per the list that we went over. Guys are just going to be flying. And I tell you what, Dean, my refresh button is getting worn out on my screen right now. This is just all kinds of exciting. But I tell you what, when it comes to the IKS Sports group that I'm potentially a part of, I'm very happy with where we're sitting currently. Hey, if we could get into the top 10, Paul, that sounds great as well. But without a doubt, I'm very excited as we continue on here.
Okay, so we see there $2,700 is the lowest bid. So anybody that wasn't in ahead, showtime right now. we got to scroll to the top because you know what? We got a new leader.
A new leader.
We got a new leader on the board, and he is still up. He is still going in Finland. Jope is the newest leader on the board as we scroll up. And it's a $5,000 bid.
Wow.
So he took the top spot in UFBA. Now in the top spot, UFLB, as we are 2 minutes and 58 seconds away from extra innings. Remember, any bid when extra innings starts will reset the clock for another 2 minutes. The bidding will end when there's a full 2 minutes without a single bid. So extra innings, 2 minutes and 40 seconds away. Jope is the leader right now. And Bison Baseball, let's grab that leaderboard one more time because Bison Baseball has made a move, jumping up to 4,500. And Trent Roblin at 44. I feel a little bit like NASCAR right now as everybody's going around. So Trent Roblin rubbing his racing as he runs up there to the number 3 spot, the big man from just around Red Deer. And then we see 7 Seas Blockchain. This is going to be unbelievable as shuffling goes on. We are just over 2 minutes away from extra innings, and that's where you will always have 2 minutes to find that spot. If IKS gets bumped out of 13, you'll have a full 2 minutes to be able to find another spot that you're comfortable with. And remember, you are allowed to tie, just the priority goes to the first bidder. So we see lots of ties on this leaderboard, and whoever was that first bidder will get the draft priority. Because if you don't know, and how could you not know at this point of the auction? Really, how could you be? How could you just be finding this out? You were in a coma for the most of the auction. I'm not sure, but your place on the leaderboard determines where you will bid in each and every round of the 26-round draft. So that's why it's so important. If you think you want a top 5 guy, you got to be in the top 5. And so let's take a look at that leaderboard. Good job, guys. There, as the countdown is on, we are under 2 minutes, and now we are getting some nitty-gritty, and the bids are resetting as we saw Joe. We did have Steve Cole jumping into the number 2 spot, and that has reset the bidding for extra innings. I saw the clock reset there, so this is exciting. Steve Cole jumping into the number 2 spot at 4,800, and really, that's a steal. Can you imagine getting the 2nd overall pick for $4,800? Like, I cannot imagine that some of the players that are out there would let that happen. There we see the bidding going on. Jope, Wade Beavers at 5,500, the new leader. Jope at number 2, Steve Cole at number 3, and you saw there, the bidding has been reset again. So this bidding will continue. Every time there is a new extension, the bidding will be extended by 2 minutes. I don't know how many extensions we're going to get, but we've had a few already, and this is so exciting to see where people are going to try to position. Like, where are your nerves right now?
I tell you what, like I said, I'm feeling fantastic right now, but my right leg is doing some sort of jittering that I haven't felt in a long time, Dean. But you know what? This is just absolutely incredible to see this kind of movement. To borrow a baseball analogy, though, right? Tie goes to the runner up the leaderboard. So make sure that you get those bids in, run up that leaderboard, and make sure that you get that opportunity to get in there for a top 5, top 3, top 1 selection. We all know how important that is, especially when you are truly the architect of a franchise such as this.
$2,800 is the low bid right now. Robert Woolman has that. That means June X, CanWest Fantasy Sports, and Tricky Dicky are on the outside looking in right now. And we're in the extra innings here. We just got a bid reset. And so I don't know exactly who it was that moved up, but we did just reset the clock. So this is an interesting situation where you have Wade Beavers, number 1, 5,500. Major League Baseball experience in that group. Jope in there at 5,000, and Steve Cole, the number 3 bid. Until now, Philip Beavis jumps into the number 1 spot, resets the clock for another 2 minutes. We're going to have to get some relievers going. We might have to pull Ian Kinsler and get him on the mound like his final at-bat, you know?
Really?
I don't know, like, is my beard going to grow back by the time this auction? Is your beard going to disappear? Like, what is going to happen? Wade Beavers, 5,700, jumps back into the lead. They don't want to let that number 1 spot go. They know how valuable those guys are because they have that Major League Baseball experience.
Absolutely.
And we reset the clock for another 2 minutes as we have Jope moving into the top spot at $6,000. And you can clearly tell these franchises, have a player identified.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And again, whether if it's somebody on the top 30 list, as we discussed, or maybe they're going off the board, whatever the strategy may be, it's just amazing to see, again, the jockeying for position as Wade Beavers takes the lead once again. Man, oh man, this is as intense as it gets. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, runner on second. This is the time right now. It's absolutely insane.
I'm going to have to book another hotel room. This auction could be going on. We might have to get another night in the hotel. As Wade Beavers, as you mentioned, jumps ahead at 6,300. Jope at 6,000 in the number 2 spot. We see Philip Beavis at 5,600. Pineapple Express making a move up as well. We saw that franchise a little bit farther down, but now they're saying, hey, we can get Tatis, Acuna, whatever name in the top 5 for 5,000. That is massive. Steve Cole making a move back into the top 3 now at $5,700 US. And I wonder if there's going to be an over the top that's going to try to distance themselves, and then we see jockeying down below, or are we just going to always see the top bidders trying to outdo themselves? It's so interesting as we have a minute 30 left of this extra inning session. Any bid extends it for a full 2 minutes. I got to think we might be here for a while.
And you know what? We very well could be, and why not? I mean, again, we talk about the value, right, in terms of where the bidding's currently at. It's amazing to see the investment that ownership groups clearly already have in this endeavor. Man, oh man, it's going to be a ton of fun. Regardless of however long we're here, it's amazing to see the buttons continue to shift and move and shake. It's as interesting, again, as bottom of the ninth. World Series Game 7, right?
Well, extra innings.
Extra innings.
We're past the bottom of the ninth. That's right, yeah.
Right, forget the ninth.
Can West Fantasy Sports has jumped back in. They were on that cutoff. I knew they wouldn't be there that long. They jumped back in at 3,200, and you saw the clock extend again to another 2 minutes, and we just got another extension. So I'm going to try to figure out, IFAB6.LB jumping up and making a big move, and that's who ended up extending this. So they jump into a top 5 spot for $5,100. I mean, that is insane. And now we're going to get to a little bit later about the payment schedule that you have, but you do have time to put your finances together. So, bidding increments, minimum $100. What's $100 when you're talking about a top 5 player?
100%.
I'd be saying, what's $1,000 when you're talking about a top 5 player? But you want that guy to be there. And look at new leader, Philip Beavis. He's saying, we're strutting here. 6,500. Wade Beavers, $200 behind. Jope at 6,000. Steve Cole, 5,700. And then IFAB6.LB coming in at 5,100. That is our top 5 as the countdown continues. And that leadership did not last long, did it?
No, not at all. I mean, I haven't seen extensions like this since my grade 12 English paper to pass grade 12 English. So, I mean,
I thought you were going to talk about your hair in grade 12.
That too, exactly. That was also a thing back in the day in 2012. But again, we digress from that. Man, it's just, Dean, when you look at, again, just how invested people are in this. This is what makes it truly exciting. It's what makes it a league truly unlike any other. And I continue to hope that we're here for a little while, as long as we make it out for 7:20 for kickoff of the Rams and Titans. But again, we're not here to talk football. We're here to talk baseball, and that is the prevalent topic of conversation as Wade Beavers, $6,700. It continues to go as that clock resets back up to 150.
This is incredibly fun and suspenseful, and I never thought looking at a clock and an auction would be as exciting, but I'm getting goosebumps, and I'm looking down the leaderboard, the number 24 spot, Circus Sports Trout.
Yeah.
That's not a spot they usually are in, and I wonder when they are going to get into the bidding, or maybe they're like, you know what, we're okay here because this is a guy in Derek Stevens, a former owner of a pro team, so obviously has some knowledge. So it'll be interesting to see where teams like that finish out, as we are a minute and 46 seconds left of this extra innings segment. Any bid at this time resets the clock.
I think we're in the
for
bottom
a full
of the 23rd by now, aren't we?
We might be, yeah. Is this the longest game of all time? Possibly. Call Guinness, right? Get Guinness on the phone and find out if this is the longest extra innings to go. But Wade Beavers, $6,700, the top bid right now. We have a minute and 24 25 seconds or 23 seconds, whatever it might be, as it counts down to get in another bid. Philip Beavis, 6,500. Jope at 6,000. Seven Seas Blockchain jumping up into the top 5 again. And Steve Cole rounding out the top 5 at 5,700. How bad do you want it? That's what you have to ask yourself right now. How bad do you want that top 5, top 3, top 1? You want Shohei Ohtani, who was a 1,000-point player last year, 300-plus points better than Vlad Guerrero, who was outstanding. You better get into that number 1 or 2 spot, because that is what it's going to take.
Oh, absolutely. And again, right, when it comes down to it, this is, again, in a league unlike any other, it's going to require a strategy unlike any other. And what better strategy is there to have a top 5 pick in this type of draft, right? It could be the difference between a championship or second place. And as Ricky Bobby once said, if you ain't first, you're last. So,
and it's hard to tell who, we just saw the clock reset again, and it wasn't one of the top guys. So I'm wondering, who is John Galt? Is that maybe the move that was made? Was it a move lower down as we're looking at this leaderboard? And Jope jumps in front again.
Absolutely.
So another extension of extra innings. I can tell you this. You can call Guinness and say, by the way, this is the longest extra innings in a UFFS franchise auction. So we have definitely set the record for franchise extensions and extra innings, and they're just not going to be denied, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Every time somebody gets up there, they're on the ball. It's like somebody's throwing them BP, and they're just like Justin Morneau and Koski are just crushing BP right now. Every time somebody puts in a bid, they jump up at 7,200. That's what you have to be. You have to be aggressive. And certainly don't want to wait until it's too late and your technology bums out. So you make that bid right away. You set it. You don't forget it. And then you start bidding again. So 7,200 for Wade Beavers. Jope in at 7,000 to number 2. Philip Beavis coming in late to the auction and strong. Seven Seas Blockchain Sports at 6,000. And Steve Cole. Oh, Steve Cole just got bumped off the top 5 as we were talking about it. Showtime slipping in there with a $5,800 bid, resetting extra innings once again. And we'll have to see what happens at the top. We'll have to be watching what's in the middle, because there are people right now near the bottom that are saying, you know what? I could get into the top 15 for a few $100 maybe, or $500. I got to do it. And maybe they're just waiting for everybody else to extend it and then jump up, because you could be happy where you are and then think, you know what? I can move up just a little bit more.
Oh, 100%.
Why not for $100?
With where the price points are at currently, right? And again, is that the difference for you between Fernando Tatis Jr. and Trey Turner at this point, right? We don't know whether if it's at the top of the leaderboard, the mid, the bottom. Again, so much elite talent to go around in this Major League Baseball draft. Oh man, it's I'm again feverishly clicking the refresh button. And again, it's just getting wild at the top, the middle, the bottom. It's all sorts of fun as we continue on here in extra innings.
And this might be the longest we've gone in extra innings without an extension. We're getting down to the 1 minute mark. I don't want to say final minute of play, because baseball doesn't have a clock, right? That's the best thing about baseball. It is timeless. There is no clock that tells you when the game is over. There is a clock in extra innings for this auction that tells you when it is over, and it has been extended again. Another 2-minute extension, as somebody has made a move and jumped up the bidding board. As you know, this is what it will take to get in the game. The lowest bid, once again, at $2,800. Noel D has that right now at number 30, as I'm just checking out the bottom of the leaderboard. Because, listen, just because you're at the bottom of the leaderboard does not mean you cannot draft a dynamic team. You're still getting one of the best 30 players in Major League Baseball, and every team has a superstar.
Yes.
And there's at least 30. We talked about that drop-off, whether it's 7, 10, whatever you want to go with. But you're still getting a superstar player at number 30. It's not a snake draft, so you're going to have to wait, but you're still getting that number. And you know what? There are guys that want to be that smart guy at the back of the bus that, you go be the big spender. I'll do this the Moneyball way, or whatever it might be, right?
There's always the Oakland A's and there's always the New York Yankees. And again, part of the beautiful thing about this game, right? Whether if it's in the fantasy world, whether if it's on the diamond, anybody can win at any spot of the draft. However, it might require a little extra homework. So with that being said, I know that I certainly can't wait to get at the homework side of things and get things kicking off. We're looking pretty good.
New leader,
Media,
new leader
there.
Philip Beavis jumping into the top, and another prime example of a guy waiting, doesn't jump into the auction right away, jumps in at $7,500 now. Wade Beavers, $300 behind at 72 in the number 2 hole. Still terrific. You're just getting absolute dynamite value for this.
Exactly.
Jope at 7,000, 7 Seas blockchain. And who is John Galt? Well, they're the number 5 bidder right now. That's who John Galt is. The number 5 bidder. Number 5 in the rule book or the playbook, and number 1 in their heart. That's what they're hoping. But 5,900. That means a bidder like Showtime, Steve Cole have bumped down now to the 58. Who is John Galt going $100 more than Showtime? Showtime now, if they want to get back into the number 5, they've got to go to at least 6,000. They can go 5,900, but they would still be slotted in at that number 6 spot. And so we'll see as we get down to the final minute, possibly. Is this our final minute? Will we see a reset? I don't know. I certainly hope not, because I'm having so much fun.
There it is right there. There it is, Dean. As
Another
it continues to reset.
reset.
My goodness. The bottom of the 30th now, we're probably around that point. And I tell you what, though, again, we just talk about the talent that's available, right? And it gets you jittery inside. The World Series just ended, and we're ready for next season to get going right away here, especially with a once-in-a-lifetime event like this. So it's crazy to see the dynamic way the teams are bidding. Like you said, teams are clearly targeting where they want to hold themselves in position. Again, 1 through 26 rounds, you get the position of where you're at. If you're number 2 overall in the bidding, you're number 2 all the way. So when it comes to that side of things with the strategy implementation, you're going to want to make sure you get your spot.
Where do you think we should order pizza from? Because I think we might be here for a while. Like,
There's a couple of good
I'm not
local
sure
spots.
what
There really is.
I don't know if you guys have a pizza sponsor or what, but we might have to get a couple of pies in here, because I don't know how long we are going to be here at this auction. We kind of joked, like, will we get 1 or 2? Will we get 3? Well, like you said, I think we're coming up to like the bottom of the 30th right now or something as we approach, as you would, the bottom of the inning in the final minute. I just got that, so I think you brought that up earlier. I'm a little bit slow, as Trish would tell you sometimes, but Philip Beavis, 7,500. Is Wade Beavers? Are they debating right now? Like, are they saying, hey, we can still get this person here in the number 2 spot? Do we have to be in that number 1 spot? Maybe there might be people out there that aren't convinced Shohei Ohtani will be able to do that. Now, having said that, Shohei Ohtani's bat is still valuable. He was the number 2 person in our league when it came to points. But you might say, you know what? We're concerned that maybe he could suffer a career-ending injury. God forbid, we don't want anything like that to happen. But there it is, another extension. It was not for the top, but it was Steve Cole jumping into the number 5 hole.
Back in there, yeah.
Cole Trickle, Rubbins racing, getting bumping in there at $6,100 US. And I'll let you know, that's a little bit of an international flavor. There's some North American management. There's some Australian management going on in that team. So we really do have. We've got some Italian representation, some Finland, some Australian. It is, as we know, baseball, much more than football, and maybe a little bit. I think baseball and basketball are kind of on par when it comes to the global game. I think hockey is one of the more global games. And of course, we're not comparing anything to soccer or footy, but, baseball, that international game, and we have an international flavor within our potential ownership group as we tick down to the bottom of the 50th now. I'm not sure what we're on, but Phyllis Beavis still at number 1. Jope still lurking there. We've seen them make a couple of moves, jumping up and down, and it's always interesting to see if there's somebody at the bottom of the leaderboard that maybe wants to make a move up and says, $300 moves me up 5 spots. How can I not?
Exactly, 100%. And again, it's you identify your player. Is this the person that you want to lead your franchise at the top of the first round? And again, as we talked about, 26 rounds. And when it comes to, again, the diversity of players that are available, the ways that you can build your team, what spot is going to be the one that gets it there for you in terms of how you're going to be able to strategize for a season-long draft? This is where it's incredibly exciting to see the point totals and how things are going to be reflected in terms of Major League Baseball standards. Man, oh man. I'm already getting ideas in terms of the scouting meetings that we'll possibly be running here if we stay in at that current spot. So it's going to be very interesting.
Well, we do have a new leader. We just had another reset. The clock has started over as Jope has jumped up to the top spot, 7,600. They were listening. They must be watching. They know what's going on. Absolutely. Philip Beavis at number 2 at 7,500. Now, what does the Wade Beavers group do here? Are they like, okay, we have that answer. The Wade Beavers group just answered us. So
ask and answer. Right?
Thank you very much for being such participatory people in this show. So that's the answer. What do? They come over the top at 7,800. The number 1 spot, Jope at 76, Philip Beavis at 75, 7 Seas Blockchain 62, Steve Cole at 61. Mentioned that international flavor there with one of the owners being in Australia, and then you get into the 6,000s after that. And so the extension has happened again. We are again extended, trying to figure out where that move might. It's kind of weird because we're looking so much at the top 5.
Exactly.
But there are so many people that might be making smaller moves down below that want to move up and down. And you just never know who's going to extend that auction. And Philip Beavis, we have hit $8,000 for our top franchise right now. Woo, this is fun. Another reset. Another 2 minutes as that we're into. And who else is going to make the move? John Galt. Who is John Galt getting into the top 5 now at 6,300? Wade Beavers. Yeah, they're not going to be outdone. They just jump into the top spot again. $8,100 for the top franchise. Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball is Philip Beavers. Are they going to keep challenging? What will Jope do? We just saw that. And what else is going on down below? We don't know. This is it's almost like we need like 5 leaderboard cams to know what is all going on. There's so much action happening, and we keep getting those extensions 100%. Down to the 2 minutes.
Absolutely. When you look at Jope, right, we mentioned the time difference already, 8 hours ahead in Finland. He might be up a little bit longer when it comes to if he celebrates getting the number 1 overall selection, the way the bidding could shake out here over the final minute and 15 seconds, at least in this current extension. But yeah, with Wade Beavers on top right now at that top bid of $8,100, man, oh man, where we started this day, and all of a sudden, as it comes down to the final, well, not even final, we don't know when the final's going to be.
It was just extended now.
It just continues to roll on. Let the good times roll, as they say.
That's right. Philip Beavis swinging the big stick and jumping into the number 2 spot. You know what I would have loved? This is what I would have really loved. Somebody to come in this auction and just send a picture of them pointing. Calling your shot. Like, we are going to be number 1 and then getting it. I don't know. Oh, well, the lead did not last long as Wade Beavers is up at 81, but Philip Beavers at 8,000. What if they called their shot to somebody? That would be the coolest thing. And
absolutely.
But even, an $8,000 number 2 spot, I just can't imagine the value you were getting in that top 5 spot. Like, even you look at 7 Seas Blockchain at $6,200. That is ridiculous. If you could get into the top 5 where Who is John Galt is for $6,300, you're getting a Ronald Acuna Jr. or a Vlad or a Tatis, depending on where it goes. Juan Soto, Mike Trout, possibly. Like, it's just incredible value right now in the top 5 as we see another extension on the leaderboard. Jope is number 3. Wade Beavers is number 1. Philip Beavers is number 2. And 7 Seas Blockchain. They're listening. They jump into that top 4 spot, $100 ahead, and then you have that value. Incredible top 5 value right now. Incredible.
Absolutely. And again, you already alluded to the players that are potentially available. My goodness. And again, the disparity of where we're seeing with the bids and where it's going, it speaks to the strategy. And that's what I'm so excited to implement. You're seeing it on day 1 here of the auction, and you're going to see it as the winter rolls along leading up to the draft. So it just continues to roll in a very positive direction.
1 minute and 25 seconds to go in this extra innings, and you see the leaderboard right there. That's the top 5. I'm just going to give you some of the names on the next board. We'll keep that screen where it is so we can see the clock. But Crown Sports is 6,200. Steve Cole, who was in the top 5, is in the number 7 spot at 6,100. Showtime at 5,800 in the number 8. I mean, less than $6,000 for top 10 talent. That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
That's better than any sale you can find anywhere. 100%. Trent Roblin at 5,600, and then the group from Italy, IFAB6.LB at 5,500. That rounds out the top 10. You could get into the top 10 for $5,600 right now. Wow. That is incredible as we are 43 seconds away. Does Philip Beavis, does Jope, 7 Seas, Mooch, do you got a few more bids in you? Who is John Galt? Well, right now, John Galt is number 5. Maybe John Galt will be number 3.
Absolutely.
What will happen? We just had another extension, and there it is. Philip Beavers says, you know what? I'm not going anywhere.
That might be a shot call right there as he continues to go up the leaderboard, not just by 100, not by 2. He goes by 4. He pulls out the George Steinbrenner checkbook and says, we're ready to roll.
And then Wade Beavers said, yeah, I got a pretty big checkbook here as well. I got a 2006 MVP. I got a superstar in Corey Koski. We might be able to cover that $500 raise.
So absolutely. I just wonder again, inside that war room, inside the draft room, again, they clearly have their guy. Is it Shohei? I don't know, but it's going to be incredible to see the competition really spark starting from November all the way through March leading up to the draft. So.
Okay, so 1 minute and 25 seconds. Wade Beavers, $8,700, top of the leaderboard. Philip Beavis. There's been a nice little battle between those two. I absolutely love it.
It's Nolan Ryan versus Ian Kinsler in the Legends League. It's just it's a 12-pitch at bat, and we're going to see it continue on here. Again, Philip Beavis continues.
As long as it's not Nolan Ryan versus Robin Ventura, because that was really overmatched. But there's Philip Beavis. This is is this the heavyweight? You know, a pretty good UFC fight last night. Is this Beavis and Beavers going toe-to-toe right now in the middle of the ring as Philip Beavis, $9,000 upping it, and Wade Beaver saying, I got you here. Maybe they're like splashing the pot, you know, getting really fun here. Like, this is amazing. These two potential bidders or potential franchise owners going toe-to-toe, and let's not count out the rest of those guys. Let's not count out Joe. Let's not count out Mooch and 7Cs. Who is John Galt? Maybe John Galt is a billionaire, and they're going to come in and put down a massive bid. We don't know. Who is John Galt? Maybe a millionaire.
You know,
anyway,
when he's throwing that reference around, there's got to be some money in the bank, right?
I think so. And that's the beauty of this, is we are about 1 minute and 20 seconds away from possibly ending this, but you know, we're in like the bottom of the 70th now, I think. I honestly cannot keep track.
Guinness is
of the
calling
amount
us right now. They've heard about
this.
They're
calling us.
Saying, it's time to get these boys in the record books here.
Sorry, we're a little bit busy, Guinness. We're setting more records here. But Wade Beavers, 59 seconds to go, $9,100 top bid. You can get in the top 5 for $6,400. And remember when you're sitting at the draft and you're drafting 13th or 14th and 15th, that you could have got in the top 5 for a few $100 more or $500 more. I'm not saying there's not going to be a good player there, but there's a great player in the top 5.
Absolutely.
And I would go I would say 6 or 7. That's my cutoff.
Gotcha.
That's where I say I start looking at positions, because those guys, whether the young studs or the older guys, are there. Okay, this is the lowest we've gotten. We're into the final 15 seconds. Wade Beavers, 91. Philip Beavers, never mind, we got another extension. I was just kidding, Max. I was just fooling you. I was seeing if you're going to pay attention or whatever.
We got to be into the double-A system in terms of bullpens, right? You call your entire organization rookie ball, A ball,
They're calling fans out of the stands to pitch right now.
If you got a jersey, if you came to the ballpark with a jersey and a glove today, you're going to be pitching into this extra innings set here.
We just had another extension. Wade Beaver still 91. Philip Beavis 9,000, and Philip Beavis off the top rope 9,500. Wait, listen, how can we not work in some wrestling references with Andy McNamara's Macho Man impersonation? So Philip Beavis, is that the flying elbow coming off the top at 95? But is it going to be the knockout blow? I don't think so. I don't think Wade Beavers and that group with Corey Koski and Justin Morneau are going to let this lead slip away. They're $400 behind. We could see a move. Joe at 76. Who is John Galt? The number 4 bidder now.
Yes.
And 7C's blockchain at 6,400. After that, we have Crown Sports 62. Steve Cole at 6,100. Trent Roblin at 5,900. Showtime at 58. And Pineapple Express moving up the leaderboard at 5,700. Right now, you can get into the top 10 for $5,800. I don't know where you would find a better deal than that. Even the top 5 at $6,500 is ridiculous as Philip Beavis jumps up, and we are under 1 minute to go.
The deliberation continues in the war room of Wade Beavers. And again, with some skin in the game potentially, competing against these other owners, I'm just wanting these things to just continue to roll on. Just keep pumping those bids, everybody.
Well, you know what the great thing is? we just got another extension.
There it goes.
And the bigger the bids, the bigger the prize pool. This is a league that is going to have big prize pools, and they are progressive. Every transaction, a piece of it goes into the prize pool. They're as progressive, and they grow and they grow. The UFAFL started their prize pool at 6 figures, just over $200,000 this year.
Incredible.
I'm not making any guarantees. I'm just saying the money goes into the prize pool. So the more bids we have, the more money you could win.
Right.
You could win. Everybody could win who's involved in this. As Philip Beavis, $9,500, a minute, 13 seconds to go. Will Wade Beavers jump back in? Will Joe? Will somebody else? Will Circus Sports Trout get in the mix? Circus Sports Trout is the 25th bidder right now, and maybe they are looking at it and saying, we have a lot of experience when it comes to this. We can draft in certain spots and really get it done. And we just had another extension.
Continues to go. Again, I'm just marveling at this leaderboard again, where we started the day with where the top seed was at and just how it's continued to evolve over these extra innings. Again, it just goes without saying how important, obviously, it is to be in that top 5 positioning. We look at Jope, who's all the way about 2 o'clock in the morning, at least where we're broadcasting from, and he's still up, kicking around, making sure that he's in the top 3. Wade Beavers, my oh my, again, I think, again, are they waiting in the weeds at the top of the leaderboard here? Are we going to see that extra $500 come from the pockets of that ownership group? We're going to see as it continues to roll on here. My goodness, 1:20 and counting down. Let's see where we're at.
Philip Beavis, the number 1 bid right now, as you mentioned, with just over a minute to go. And maybe this is where Wade Beavers is saying, yeah, we're good in the number 2 hole, unless Jope jumps up, or I'm not really sure. It's the final minute, possibly.
Right.
But we've said that before of this franchise auction. Who is John Galt? 6,600. Crown Sports making a move. Crown Sports, 6,500. They have some experience. And
Nick Lewis
coming in the final in one of the extra innings with an 8,000. You know what? Like,
wow.
That's like Nick Lewis is running out from the back ring to join the Battle Royal right now and get involved with an $8,000 bid. Like, how's that for your first bid? You just drop into the top 3.
Canadian Football Hall of Famer putting up a Hall of Fame type of bid in this last inning, not the last inning, one of the extra innings here. It just continues to just show how invested people are going to be in this league and how it's only going to get more exciting from here, Dean. That's the other thing that people aren't realizing is, as exciting as this extra innings segment is, as the winter progresses, as winter meetings, free agents get signed, as the real world develops around this fantasy league, it's going to be incredibly exciting as the winter progresses. So yeah, Nick Lewis jumping in, $8,000, very well known, obviously, in the football community and the sports community as a whole.
AO Sports, we're on AO Sports right now. Athlete-owned sports. It's going to be a game changer for athletes who want to expand their brand or their resume. Our production, Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network, will be on AO Sports, and so great to have Nick involved and really looking forward to the production work that we're going to see on AO Sport. It is going to be top shelf, and this is what we are. Athlete take back, giving the athlete their brand back, and that's what AO Sports is going to do. That's what UFFS is going to do, and we had another extension. We did see another extension. It was not in the top 5.
I think I know where it came from, Dean. I think I know where it came from.
Would you like to announce this one?
Well, you know what? Jumping into the 15th spot is the IKS Sports Group. Paul, fantastic work, my friend. Keep us there. We'll build you a fantastic squad. I can almost guarantee it. We're going to do a lot of great work and make sure that things are worthy of that 15th overall selection if you keep us there.
So I was wondering when Circus Sports Trout was going to start making a move. They're just behind you guys right now in that number 16 spot. So they have gone up from 3,200 to 4,300. That's what it is. They were 24th. They went from 32 to 4,200, and they moved close to that top 15. Like, that's how much you can move right now in this final minute of our Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball franchise auction wrap-up special. We were actually supposed to be off the air by now. Well, we have had a half an hour of extensions here, folks. This is incredible. This is just unbelievable. The question is there one more extension left in this auction.
Down to the final 30 seconds, Dean. It is at that time, right? 2 outs. Oh, did we... 26 seconds.
26
we got that
seconds.
Small little delay on there.
We're
but
getting tricked. $9,500. Wade Beavers at 91. Nick Lewis, $8,000.
Somebody's going to click that
Jope
button.
at 76. And there is an extension.
There's
and Jope hits the 5-figure mark.
Wow.
A $10,000 bid. Jope. And that's what you have that 2 minutes to really make that decision. Do I want to make this bid? I'm going to make the bid. I'm not going to make the bid. You get your flower petals out.
Exactly.
Whatever it is. You ask your magic 8 ball. Should I bid the 10,000? Yes, go do it. We programmed all the magic 8 balls for everybody to tell them to bid. But then you make that decision in that 2 minutes and you're like, okay, I'm good. Or, yeah, we're doing it and let's click. Don't wait too long, everybody, because you never know about the internet. And what are we going to see now? What kind of response are we getting from Philip Beavis? What is going to happen with Wade Beavers? Is Nick Lewis going to jump in and go over the top? Who is John Galt? Well, he's the number 5 bidder now because he's been bumped down. Who is going to be the next to make a bid? Or who is going to be the next to blink?
Exactly. And it just continues, right? And we're seeing it at the top of the leaderboard, the middle of the leaderboard, the bottom of the leaderboard. It doesn't matter where you're at. The movement is there. And again, as we continue to tick down under the final minute of this current extra inning,
extension.
Again, you say it, and it happens. The extension is there. And again, wherever it was in the leaderboard here, Wade Beavers hasn't been out of the top 2 in nearly this entire extra inning set. What kind of response are we going to see from them if there is to be a play made to be back in that number 1 spot? But Jope making a statement, going out and saying, I'm going to Jorge Soler this baseball into the next stratosphere with the first 5-figure bid of the day. So this is incredible.
I'll tell you where the move came. You guys are now 16.
There we are.
Max Elliott, commissioner of the UFAFL, jumping into that number 15 spot at 4,700. So, Paul, you want to get your guys a top 15 spot? You're going to have to throw. You know what? Don't worry. You're going to make so much money off us paying your crew overtime for this show because we're going so late with the extensions. You're going to be able to get into that number 1 spot, man. So it's all strategy. But here we are, going into this final possible minute. Although we've said that before of this franchise auction. Can we get to the finish? Will we have more extensions? Will we have somebody coming in and saying, you know what, Joe, you're not getting this for 10 grand.
Exactly.
We're going to make you pay for it. What? There it is, $11,000, and not just a $100 extension. We're going for it. That's splash in the pot, Philip Beavis, all of it. We want it, and they're going after it. $1,100, Jope at $10,000. So what's the response from Wade Beavers now?
I think they're just sitting in the war room. They've got that. They got their number. They got their final number in mind. I think they're going to wait. Again, this is where we go back to the marketplace strategy, right? Do you wait to the last 15 seconds to drop the hammer, and then all of a sudden you put that pressure button on the people in front of you in those top 2 spots? So I don't think Wade Beavers is done. I think we're going to call him out here, right? We know that Justin Morneau knows a thing about premier first baseman in the game. Is Vladdy going to last till 3, Justin? I don't know. So we'll have to see. But my goodness, it just continues to roll on here. Yeah, I'm still Nick Lewis coming in with that $8,000 bid to jump into the top 5 immediately. He said, "No, we're not going to mess around with this $2,500 minimum. We are going to go for it in the number 4 spot right now."
Okay, so once again, like we have been, a few times, I wouldn't say many times because the extensions have happened quickly, but we've been here before. We are now in what could be the final minute, or it could be one of the next 58 minutes that we're still here. But we have time to, or getting close rather, to the 30-second mark of this franchise auction. Philip Beavis, $11,000. Jope, $10,000. Wade Beavers, $9,100. Never mind. We just had an extension.
There she goes.
Who is John Galt? Is that who moved up? I'm not exactly sure who moved up. The top of the leaderboard didn't change. Maybe it was Crown Sports. But quickly, I'll just tell you who's at the, as we run down and where people sit. Crown Sports, number 6 at 6,500. Steve Cole, 6,500. Number 7, Seven Seas Blockchain, 6,400 at 8. Showtime is 9th. Trent Roblin at 6,100 is 10. So getting in the top 10 right now only costs you 6,200.
Exactly.
That's if you're not doing it, then that's fine. All the power to the beat. But if you want to get in the top 10, if that's your goal, and you're letting 6,100 stop you, that's I'm not a strategy I would agree with. Right. If you don't think you need to be in the top 10, by all means, I love people that, want to do it a bit more of a challenging way. Bison Baseball at number 11 at 6,000. Pineapple Express at number 12. IFAB 6.LB at number 13.
That's going to be an interesting branding, Dean. Again, we're going to see as it doesn't roll off the tongue exactly.
It does not.
So
it does
IFAB 6.LB. We're going to see what
it sounds like a license plate more than anything. Exactly. Actually, Dale Hardy at 4,800 and Max Elliott rounding out the top 15 as we are ticking down to 30 seconds. Who has an answer for Philip Beavis? He came in late and he came in hot, and we just extended the bidding again. So Philip Beavis still number 1, Jope number 2.
The Circus Sports Trout are making a move here, Dean. This is what I'm seeing. They were sitting in that
10.
16 spot. Now they're all of a sudden in the top 10. They've identified some guys that say, you know what, that 25 spot wasn't going to work for us. Our ownership group, we need to have some of that premier talent, and they certainly have the capital to do it as they move into the top 5.
There we go. We knew. You knew they weren't staying at 24. They were not ever staying at 24.
It's like that cliffhanger on your favorite TV show, right? You knew it wasn't going to happen. You just had to wait to find out exactly where it was going to sit.
I didn't think Derek Stevens of Circa Resort could make our show any better than how he did on Friday night.
Absolutely.
12 beers deep, coming up with the Circa
what
Trout
a great
name.
Story.
But he just did. He just made this show. I'm thinking he is he's in Vegas. Mm-hmm. He's a casino owner. He knows about shows and how to present them. So he was just waiting. He was just letting us get that suspense going.
Exactly.
And now coming up the leaderboard, Philip Beavis, 11,000 top bid as we approach possibly the final minute. Joe, 10,000. Wade Beavers at 9,100. They've been quiet. They have been quiet the last few extensions. Nick Lewis certainly entered loudly, as a Hall of Famer should.
Right. Absolutely.
8,000. And Circa Sports Trout sneaking into that top 5 spot at $6,700. 48 seconds and counting. Mm-hmm. I wonder, are we going to see a third 5-figure bid? Are we going to see somebody go over Philip Beavis? And which of these 5 on this leaderboard would you predict it would be?
Oh, I tell you what, I know Nick Lewis personally. This is a man that likes to make a statement. And as he's already done so, jumping into the top 5, I know that what Shohei Ohtani would mean to his franchise and how he would build it.
20 seconds.
I could see maybe in the last 10 seconds here, Nick goes out and says, hey, I'm going to make a move. But the top 4 pick is pretty solid as well.
Is this the time? We are under 10 seconds to go in the Ultimate Fantasy League franchise auctions. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is it. Congratulations. Not only to Philip Beavis for getting the number 1 pick in the Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball draft, but to all 30 franchise owners. You are now part of an exclusive, special, and wonderful group. You're going to love it. It is the most realistic, and this is fantasy baseball for professionals. Wow. We need a break. We definitely need a break.
I would say so.
I don't even know if the guys are still here, if they went home and they just left the lights on.
The cameras are still getting switched somehow.
Wow.
So again, Jordan Blodgett of IKS Media, a very talented individual, but I think he's still back there kicking around. We know
wonderful job by your crew and the staff here at IKS. Just unbelievable drama and so much fun. And listen, I feel so bad for Noel, Robert Woolman, June X, and Tricky Dicky, who were the 4 that missed out. But congratulations to the 30 that got in. We will wrap up the Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball franchise auction wrap-up show when we come back. This is a live production coming to you from Regina, Saskatchewan, and IKS Media. We're back right after this.
Well, you've all been waiting and asking, and it's finally here. The UFF Sports NFT platform is ready. It's coming this month, folks, okay? UltimateSportsNFTs.com. UltimateSportsNFTs.com. Get that, save that address because it's coming. That means all the NFL legends we have on board, hockey, baseball, every sport is coming to one spot. So you don't have to worry about wondering, where do I find this NFT of this player? The stars are coming to UltimateSportsNFT.com. And just like the late, great Macho Man, Randy Savage once said, the cream always rises to the top, brother. Yeah, always rises to the top. You see, because there's no 40,000 three-pointers or slam dunks, brother. No. There's one of ones of Chris Carter, Eric Metcalf, Michael Vick, Nate Burleson, Tristan Jackson, Justice Hill, Ryan Malone, Ian Kinsler, champions, professionals, all coming, and many more, by the way, as well, all coming to UltimateSportsNFTs.com.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I joined my friend Dean Millard on the Tracking the Draft podcast. We have a lot of fun talking about the upcoming prospects, who your team should select. So you know all about fantasy. Well, guess what? UFF Sports is revolutionizing the World Juniors with their UFWJ Dynasty League and scouting platform. We all know how exciting the World Juniors are. Well, this is going to give you a whole new level of excitement. This is the future of fantasy hockey. Franchise auction is November 20th and 21st. There's only 10 franchises available. Only 10 teams participate in the World Junior. Minimum bid, $500 US. Make sure to follow at the UFWJ on Twitter for even more exciting World Junior action.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. IKS Live, the proud producer of The Rod Peterson Show and The Recovery Hour. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Wow. I'm trying to catch my breath still. Not very often, as my wife will tell you, I'm speechless. But this is so impressive. Welcome back to the Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball Franchise Auction Wrap-Up Special. And we have wrapped up the franchise auction with about 100 extensions. You know, we went an extra, I think, 42 minutes.
Incredible.
Just
incredible.
You know, honestly, we predicted maybe 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. Right off the top.
That happened in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't even get down to 1:40 there for at least 15 minutes. That was absolutely crazy to just see. And again, new people jumping in continuously to the top 5, rounding out the bottom half of the draft, wherever it was going to be. There was consistent movement. And again, right, like you said, we're speechless. We're really trying to control what emotions we're feeling right now, because that was some kind of exciting.
Well, I'll say much more exciting than the Pats Wheat King game. And I'm saying from a Wheat King point of view, because they got blown away. So we had a lot of excitement in this one. And I think it's time we take one more final look at the leaderboard. You guys have been working a lot longer than you expected here. So let's take a look. Philip Beavis is the number 1 bidder, $11,000 USD in score coin. Mm-hmm. And we'll bring up some important dates before we go as well. Absolutely. On when payments have to be made. Jope in at number 2 at $10,000. Wade Beavers, that's the group with Corey Koski and Justin Morneau at $9,100. Incredible value for a top 3 pick. Nick Lewis coming in late. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
At $8,000. Circus Sports Trout. What a top 5 that is. What a top 5 that is. Circus Sports Trout coming in at $6,700. Who is John Galt? We finally figured it out. The number 6 bidder. That's who we know who John Galt is at 66. Crown Sports, 63. A nice group that involved in some other sports that we have. Steve Cole, $6,300, and that is incredible value for top 8. And I know Michael Kerford, the GM who's going to run that team, bit of a baseball savant, I think. I think he's going to, take a lot of people by surprise. So congratulations on them getting involved in the Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball. Seven Seas Blockchain, our good friend Mooch from New York. Showtime at 6,100. Trent Roblin, the big man from just outside of Red Deer at $6,100 US, and that's also really good value for the that spot as well. Bison Baseball, Pineapple Express, there's the Italian group, IFAB6.LB, whether that's a license plate or a boy band, I'm not sure. Who knows,
It could
right?
be any
It
number
could be
of
really
things,
anything.
but what we know is they are actually quite capable of putting together some sort of team here at the number 14 slot.
That's right,
for sure.
and $5,500. Dale Hardy did wonders in hockey scouting at $4,800. Max Elliott in at $47. There's your group. IKS. How does it feel that the auction is over and you see your team wherever they are, number 17 spot? It's got to be a good feeling to be a part of that.
My mind just goes to the business side of things now. When do we start our pre-scout meetings? When do we get on the branding side of things? When do we get on all of it? And Paul, again, I know you're watching right now. This is going to be some type of venture. We're going to have a lot of fun, especially with a sport that we all know and love to the bottom of our hearts. So it's going to be a fantastic endeavor, that's for sure.
So we had, who is John Galt? We also have I Am John Galt as we pull up that leaderboard one more time and see the number 18 spot. There's I Am John Galt. So answering, but not answering with the same bid. Who is John Galt was up there. So G. Tess in at 3,900. Aaron Jones at 3,700. And they're in good shape. Their GM is going to do a really good job, Gage. Five Eyes at 3,600. Dan Esposito, just $100 less there at 3,500. Congratulations to Prestige Worldwide Sports and Entertainment. They'll be having some fun at the Catalina Wine Mixer.
Of course.
3,400. Joseph in at 3,300. Jeremy Plamondon right there as well, as is Nick Utley. The Valkyries, cannot wait to see their logo work. It's
sure.
dynamite in football. Can West Fantasy Sports Group getting in at 3,200. Pippin and Gary Levick rounding out the top 30. And I just want to say I am extremely excited to welcome all the new owners to Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball. And as your commissioner, I will do my best to make sure that this is the greatest fantasy league you have ever played in. Before we go, some important dates to tell you about when it comes to now being one of 30 franchise owners. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, first payment needs to be made by December 1st, and it must be 50% of your payment. Full payment, December 31st. February 5th, franchise name, logo, and colors must be completed, and you must be paid in full to even submit a franchise name or logo. So a little incentive there. If you have a brand, you have a color scheme that you want, pay your franchise fast, you can start working on your logo. Incentive. February 19th, the start of the top prospects auction. That is any player that is in an MLB system, has not played an MLB game, will be available to franchises and scouts. Franchises will fill their 14 protected lists. Scouts are unlimited. The 26-round veteran player draft, March 5th and 6th. Start brewing the coffee. It's going to be a long couple of days. And then the futures auction on March 26th for scouts. And how about that? March 31st. We get usually we're like April 3rd. We get the baseball season even earlier. And how awesome is it that we'll kick off Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball game 1 of 162 on March 31st.
Christmas in March, right? Whether if it's the 1st or the 31st, when it comes to baseball season, it doesn't much matter. But it's going to be quite the race with everything that's going to be happening between now and the actual veteran player draft, leading right up to first pitch. It's going to be a fantastic sprint all the way through March to October. It's going to be fantastic.
All right. Well, big thank you, first of all. Thank you to Paul Druin, who not only got in the auction, but let us do this wonderful show. Maybe can you just list off some of the people that worked on this production from the IKS media team? You have a wonderful group of people. I don't want to miss a lot of people, but you guys did some fantastic work. So thank you to you and the staff and maybe the people that worked hard on this show.
Greatly appreciated, Dean. And again, your involvement has been fantastic so far. I can't wait to continue to work with UFLB and folks like yourself. But we've got Jordan Blodgett in the back directing, switching buttons, making things look fantastic. And our engineer, Rolf, who is always fantastic. And putting all these things together is just incredible. I work with them on a weekly basis on our own show, the Squadcast. And again, just a couple of very, very key cogs to the machine here at IKS. As you mentioned, Paul Druin and my good man, Clark Monroe. It's been a fantastic venture. And certainly not last least, whatever the saying is at this moment, but Kayla Thompson as well, too, for doing a lot of the logistical work and planning things as well. So it's been fantastic top to bottom and just very happy to be a part of the team. And I know that it's going to continue to be a fantastic endeavor as things go forward.
Yes. Well, thank you to the crew and the staff here that made it wonderful. Thank you to the founders for putting their faith in me. A big thank you to Larry Fisher, who does so many things for us at UFFS. And welcome to the club, 30 franchise owners. For Max Ritz, I'm Dean Millard. Thank you to Ian Kinsler for joining us, our first digital athlete NFT. Cameron Lowe joined us on Friday. He's our second. And Gerald Smiley's working really hard on recruitment for some more players. But I'm Dean Millard for Max Ritz. Thank you so much for joining us, and I can't wait to play ball.